Hello, guys. Let me tell you a story about a friend of mine, a human's digestive system. Let's now imagine going to McDonald's and getting a cheeseburger. I know you are so excited to eat that cheeseburger, but do not worry, you will be eating that burger very soon. However, before you do eat, do not forget to wash your hands. To prevent yourself from diarrhea, please wash your hands. By the first bite of that cheeseburger, the mission of my friend will be started. The mouth is the first station. Our teeth and tongue are the soldiers that move food around and break it apart by chewing. From this station, we enter the delicious cheeseburger into our valuable friend. Here, our friend has 3 types of glands that help the system to digest it. Their names are salivary glands. These glands make saliva. The saliva moistens our cheeseburger and begins its chemical breakdown. The final bite, which is named bolus. According to the content of the cheeseburger, our pH of the mouth will be changed from neutral 7 to the more acidic or basic environment. Both of them can demineralize our teeth, which is resulted in tooth decay. The safe limit for this pH of the mouth is 6.2 to 7.6, so the mouth's pH level can never drop below 6.3. The cheeseburger breaks down the small bites as well as undergoes some chemical changes, hydrolysis, via salivary amylase, and due to mucinous secretions of salivary glands, the bolus can be swallowed very smoothly through the pharynx or the throat. Our oral cavity has 3 main pairs of salivary glands, the parotid glands, submandibular glands, and the sublingual glands. The mouth amylase helps us to detect the taste of sweet foods. In the throat, there is a cartilage flap that is named epiglottis. Epiglottis blocks the entrance of the trachea and prevents the entrance of food particles to the lung. Bolus smoothly slides over the epiglottis and enters the esophagus. Now the particles of the cheeseburger are on the way to the stomach. When the bolus is swallowed, it enters down in the esophagus and reaches to the next destination, the stomach. In the esophagus, bolus propelled down by a specific type of transport named peristalsis, which is a unique type of sequential contraction and relaxation of a tube-shaped muscle. At the end of the esophagus, our cheeseburger particles reach the stomach. The volume of the stomach is so huge, as it can contain about 4 liters of water. The stomach is responsible for 3 functions: accepting the bolus, churning the bolus, and hydrolysis, or chemical digestion, which is enzyme-assisted degradation of the bolus. The final product of the stomach's action is a fluid-like material named chyme. The chyme includes food particles, gastric juice, and gastric enzymes, and its pH ranging from 1.5 to 3.5. Why so acidic? The acidity of the chyme is due to HCl that is secreted by the parietal cells of the stomach. However, the stomach has other cells named Sheff cells that secrete pepsiogen. Pepsiogen, by the act of HCl, is converted to the pepsin, and pepsin hydrolyzes the proteins and makes some dipeptides and tripeptides in the stomach. The third type of stomach cell is mucus cells that produce mucin. Mucin makes a thick protective layer over the gastric lining and protects the stomach itself from the acidic corrosive effects of the HCl. If the mucinous cells of the stomach do not produce enough mucus to protect the stomach lining, the acidic content of the stomach may damage the stomach and leads to peptic ulcers. The other function of the stomach is storing of the chyme and squeezing it to the duodenum at the appropriate time. Normally, it takes around 2 hours to digest chemically and physically the chyme in the stomach. At the end of the stomach, there's a sphincter called pylorus that prevents the backward return of intestinal contents to the stomach. This sphincter also protects duodenum from entering the acidic contents of the stomach to the intestine in an appropriate time. After enough proteolysis of proteins in the stomach, the chyme is allowed to enter the duodenum, which is the first part of the small intestine. Small intestine has 3 parts. Duodenum is the most important for digestion. Duodenum, the most important part of absorption of nutrients. And the ileum, the main site of absorption of vitamins, such as vitamin B12, A, D, C, and vitamin K. Let's talk about some accessories but very important organs of the GI system: liver, pancreas, and bile system. The liver is a bulky organ that sits on the right side of the stomach. The liver is responsible for the main metabolic actions of the body. It stores fats and carbohydrates in the form of triglycerides, lipoproteins, and glycogen. Proteins are not stored in the liver, but they are taken from the blood in the liver, catabolized to amino acids, and use these amino acids to make new proteins and release new proteins into the bloodstream. While its most commonly known function is to filter toxins out of the body, it has 7 major functions. The other function of the liver is detoxification of the chemicals, such as drugs, using a specific type of enzyme named cytochrome P450 enzymes. The last function of the liver cell is bile production. The produced bile transfers through the common hepatic duct to the gallbladder, stored there and used for the breakdown of the fat content of the food. Some bacteria and also some foreign materials are also removing from the bloodstream by the specialized hepatic cells. Bile consists of some pigments and some salts. Bile pigments have no crucial effects, but bile salts have a crucial effect in fat metabolism through the emulsification of the large fat globules and making small droplets of fat easier to digest molecules. The liver is vulnerable to some types of disease problems. Toxins, alcohol, viruses are the most important factors that can damage hepatic cells and may lead to liver dysfunction. Some liver disease may be inherited genetically and makes life troublesome or impossible. Obesity is one of the conflicts of people that can damage the liver and make fatty liver disease. Cirrhosis, hepatitis A, B, and C are caused by damaging the hepatic cells and should be considered important health problems. The liver makes multiple proteins and hormones for our body functions, and failure of the liver could be lethal. The liver has a unique capacity to regenerate small pieces of the liver after implantation, which can work as a mature liver. Sometimes surgeons remove more than 2/3 of the liver, and still patients will survive without major problems. The liver has 3 different types of blood circulations. Portal vein circulation that gathers the blood from the gastrointestinal tract and directs them to the liver. This blood is so full of nutrients. Hepatic artery circulation that brings oxygenated blood from the lung to the hepatic cells for their function. Hepatic vein circulation that transfers deoxygenated blood from the liver to the lung. The gallbladder is a small organ beneath the liver that stores the produced bile by the liver and squeezed and evacuated bile into the duodenum in response to entering fat droplets into the duodenum. This process is mediated by the secretion of the cholecystokinin that squeezes the gallbladder. Bile in the duodenum reacts with fat droplets and makes them easier to metabolize through the fat emulsification. Of course, without the gallbladder, we can survive because bile directly enters the duodenum freshly. The pancreas is the most important and dangerous part of the digestive system, and sometimes surgeons call the pancreas the belly lion because of the pancreas secretes very powerful enzymes that can be very dangerous to the human body if they splash in the body cavity. The pancreas has 2 different parts, exocrine and endocrine. The exocrine part produces some enzymes and salt, including bicarbonate that used to neutralize stomach juice, amylase for the breakdown of carbohydrates and starch, lipase for the breakdown of lipids and triglycerides, proteolytic enzymes for the breakdown of some proteins. The endocrine part of the pancreas is responsible for producing some of the most important hormones of the body through their islet cells. The pancreas has 3 different types of islet cells. Alpha cells produce glycagon. This hormone converts glycagon to glucose molecules. Beta cells produce insulin. This hormone produces glycagon from glucose molecules and stores glucose molecules inside the cells and prevents glucose accumulations in the blood, which is diabetes. Delta cells produce somatostatin. This hormone is a unique hormone that stops the actions of other active hormones such as insulin, glycagon, and CCK. The small intestine is the longest part of the GI tract with about 20 feet in length. In the first part of the duodenum is the busiest section. Chyme and stomach juice enter here. Liver secretions and gallbladder bile and pancreatic enzymes all release in this area. And most important, brush border enzymes that are very important in chemical digestion. And nutrients are produced in the villi of the part of the small intestine. The microvilli are tiny little hair-like projections covering the lining of the small intestine and have crucial effects in the digestion of chyme and absorption of the nutrients and minerals. The second part of the small intestine is duodenum. About 90% of all nutrients and minerals are absorbed here. The last part of the small intestine is ileum. Most vitamins are absorbed from this part of the intestine. The pH of the intestine contents is approximately 6 in the duodenum but reaches 7.4 in the terminal ileum. As previously mentioned, most of the digestive enzymes in the small intestine are produced by the pancreas and secreted to the small intestine via the pancreatic duct. Bile enters the small intestine in response to the hormone cholecystokinin, which is secreted in the presence of fatty nutrients in the duodenum. Among the different nutrients in our food, there are 4 main macromolecules: proteins, carbohydrates, nucleotides, and fats. Proteins converted to amino acids by brush border enzymes mediated action of trypsin and chymotrypsin. Carbohydrates converted to monosaccharides and glucose through the action of pancreatic amylase and brush border lactase. Glucose and other monosaccharides are absorbed into the bloodstream and delivered to the liver via the portal vein. Nucleic acids such as DNA and RNA molecules are digested here to their elements such as phosphate group, ribose or deoxyribose, and some bases, adenine, guanine, and more. Through the actions of deoxyribonuclease and ribonuclease secreted by the pancreas. Fat contents of the food affected by the bile and pancreatic lipase and breakdown to the free fatty acids, monoglycerides, diglycerides, and glycerol. The route of absorption of fat droplets is through the lymphatic vessels. After the ileum, the intestinal contents pour into the large intestine. The length of the large intestine is about 5 feet and its diameter is 3 inches. In the large bowl, majority of water content and the remaining nutrients are absorbed, and the remaining material is stored for removing from the body, defecation. So this waste material is commonly named as feces, essentially consists of undigested and non-absorbable materials. There are some bacteria in the large intestine that act in the body to produce some important substances such as vitamin K. These bacteria are a part of a normal coexistence of our body system. Without them, we will develop some debilitating disease. In the large intestine, the net movement of water across cell membranes always occurs through osmosis. At the end of the large intestine, there is anus that controls voluntarily the time of passage of the stool.